And it would do what? Could you input? Could you download Jim?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So in the shadows, people like Gates are having their strings pulled as well. Even Gates, even Musk, even all these other people, Wachowski at YouTube, Brin and Page at Google, etc., Zuckerberg and Sandberg at Facebook, they're still gophers. They're still front men and women. The real power is still the real power.
Do we know who sits at the top of the pyramid, David, ultimately?
Well, if you want to get deeper into it, Spyro. Of the alternative media. I'll tell you what, Spyro, I have been taken aback just a little bit by the response to the second interview of some of the alternative media who've attacked me for what I said. But why would they delete it? The two things that I said that were that took it on from the first interview were, one, that we need to look at the impact here of 5G and the 5G rollout.
5G. We've got like 10 masts that are 5G and they're all in the cities. And they're in like shopping centres and whatnot, and you have to be extremely close to 5G masts to actually get 5G. Really close, I mean virtually on top of it. Let's discuss why COVID-19 and 5G are linked. Because the only reason they are is because they were trending both at the same time. Right at the beginning of the virus, EE were rolling out 5G adverts on Twitter. At the same time, COVID-19 were trending. So it's clear what you did there. Oh, well, if we put the two together, we can be a clever sort about it. Isn't that right, David Icke?
Now, this has been extraordinarily misrepresented equally in parts of the alternative media and the entirety of the British media, the mainstream media. Icke says it's all caused by 5G. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need to look at the very strong possibility that there is a connection. The other thing that I said in the second interview, which got...
If there's a connection between 5G, there's a connection between 4G and all cellular networks, mobile phone networks. That is the truth of it. Also, there's no evidence, zero. But carry on.
Alternative people like a guy called Mike Adams getting his knickers in an extraordinary twist, because he's bought the whole official narrative, was that there is no COVID-19 because it's never been isolated and shown to exist. Now, the emphasis has been Icke's video was taken down because he talked about 5G. Well, that will certainly be in the mix, because not only did YouTube...
If I put this up now, or I discuss 5G on YouTube, the YouTube bots will go, conspiracy nuts case, and take my thing down. It is the bots. YouTube don't even look at them anymore. Just have bots that pick up keywords, which is why everyone has stopped saying COVID-19 on YouTube, because of all the conspiracy theories around COVID-19. YouTube just picks up COVID-19 and then cancels the whole video. So it's not just you, it's everyone else has been hit by this.
And Vimeo and all that take it down. I don't know if you know, Spyro, but the government broadcast regulator in this country, it's a...
I know Spyro. Let's have a look at Spyro. Let's Google up Spyro. Spyro. Yeah, Spyro. The Hmm. Pull that up on full page. Right, Spyro. So only Spyro I know about. Carry on.
Censorship operation called Ofcom. They have told British mainstream broadcasters, television, radio, BBC, that if they have anyone on their program even discussing a possible connection between this virus hysteria and 5G, they will face serious sanctions. To the point, mate, where a small community radio station on the outskirts of London had one person on saying they thought there was a connection, and Ofcom went crazy. Ofcom, by the way, just happens to be the organisation.
Ofcom, if you're American, happens to regulate what's on your TV. It happens to regulate that it's being honest and factual and truthful. So you cannot say, you can say, this bleach makes everything sparkly and clean, but you can't say, this bleach is the greatest bleach in the whole entire world. It kills COVID-19 if you inject it into yourself, and you cannot put that sort of advert out. Nor can you put things like, COVID-19 is caused by 5G, because there's no evidence to back it up. Ofcom works on an evidence basis. If evidence was that 5G was causing COVID-19, you could put it out. Everyone in the UK is regulated by Ofcom.
That is promoting 5G on behalf of the government. So obviously there's a 5G connection to the deletion, the ban. But the main point that I'm making is that this virus, hysteria, has been generated overwhelmingly, more and more evidence is coming out all the time, by re-diagnosing people dying of other things to having died of COVID-19.
If someone that you know has been re-diagnosed, has not died of COVID-19, has been re-diagnosed in their autopsy or anything else, and said COVID-19 on their death certificate, you can take it to court free of charge and say, I want this to go through the coroner's court, and I'm putting in a complaint about it, because you shouldn't be allowed, you are legally not allowed to tamper with death certificates. So if you believe your relative has been screwed over with a COVID-19 report, who hasn't, on their death certificate, who hasn't had COVID-19, or has not had, at the time of death, nor has COVID-19 been a factor in their death, because they would say, has COVID-19 possible factor in death, right? If it's not through, if you're like asymptomatic, because the truth of the fact is, we don't know enough about this virus still. We know a lot, but you cannot say if you're asymptomatic you can't die of it. You still can't say that. So David Icke's talking out of his backside again. If you believe you've had a death certificate changed, you take it to court.
This is now extraordinary, the level of this is coming out, where doctors and medical professionals, some of which have actually come out and spoken and said it, are being told that if someone tests positive for COVID-19, and they're not even testing for COVID-19, they're testing for a genetic material, because they never isolated the virus they're claiming exists.
Yes, they are testing for genetic material. The genetic material of the virus.
And COVID-19 must go on the death certificate. And this is vastly, vastly, vastly inflating the numbers. Now, today, YouTube took down another video from davidicke.com on their YouTube platform that had reached 300,000 already in a very few days visits, watches. This was a interview between my son Jamie for the Iconic platform and davidicke.com with Andrew Kaufman. Andrew Kaufman is a medical doctor, a doctor of medicine in America, operates out of New York State. He now specializes in psychiatry. And he's done some phenomenal research into the fact that there is no evidence at all that there is a COVID-19. That interview with Andrew Kaufman did not mention 5G at all. But the two videos have one thing in common.
You mentioned the word beer virus. If you mention the word beer virus and you put it on YouTube, you get demonetized and you get your thing taken down because that's all the bots on YouTube recognize.
One, mine. I said this virus has never been proved to exist. A lot to know about viruses anyway, more than they're telling us. And Andrew Kaufman's interview, in which he said there's no evidence that COVID-19 exists. So for me, even more than 5G, although I say there's a significant connection, it's pointing out that the whole thing is a complete scam and manipulation of numbers and death certificates. That is the common theme in the deletion.
Yes, but at the start, before they were doing the test, they were underplaying how many people had the virus, even though with an X-ray you could find damage to their lungs that was caused by that specific virus. So it works both ways, Dave.
Now, David, I'd like to get into more specifically how the public is being deceived about this coronavirus situation that has been deemed a global pandemic worldwide. If you could please explain, because we have seen, for example, Dr. Deborah Birx, who is a high-ranking member on the White House Coronavirus Task Force, openly admit in one of the White House press conferences that they were marking down every death, regardless of underlying previous conditions, marking that down as COVID-19, coronavirus, if they in fact had tested positive with this. Can you explain how we are being deceived and the numbers are being inflated in regards to this test?
What you say is a
What actually happens is when you die, they list everything that could be a factor in your death. So if you have tested positive for COVID-19, it can be listed as a factor that could cause and instigate your death, but not necessarily the cause of your death. They can do that. But if you believe, yet again, that people have dodgy death certificates with that virus written on, and they shouldn't have, you can take it to court. Anyone can take it to court. No one as yet has taken it to court.
consistent theme, Spyro, in country after country. The CDC in America, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, have also made the same point. If someone tests for COVID-19, COVID-19 goes on the death certificate.
Can you talk about your concerns about deaths being misreported by coronavirus because of either lack of testing or standards for how they're characterized?
So I think in this country, we've taken a very liberal approach to mortality. And I think the reporting here has been pretty straightforward over the last 5 to 6 weeks. Prior to that, when there wasn't testing in January and February, that's a very different situation and unknown. There are other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem, some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death.
Can you be sure? I mean, you hear from coroners that that's not necessarily the case. Or are you sure? How can you be confident about that? And is there any concern that it skews the data that you're trying to collect in terms of projections? And
so let's just roll it back and ask what they're actually testing for. This is some of the great areas of research of Andrew Kaufman, the New York State doctor that's looked into this. Some brilliant research. The test they're using, the RT-PCR test, was said by the inventor. It was invented in 1984 by a guy called Carey Mussi, or Mullis rather. And he said the test shouldn't be used for diagnosing infectious diseases. Now, what are they claiming COVID-19 is? An infectious disease. What they did in China is when people started getting ill around the wet market in Wuhan, instead of looking at all the possibilities, they immediately said it's some kind of bacterial infection, and then they decided, no, it's a virus. And if you look at what happened in China, Spyro, is what's happened in country after country as this is panned out. First, they start diagnosing this virus, which I emphasize they have never isolated to show it exists, on symptoms. And what do they say the symptoms of COVID-19 are? Flu.
How much money have you made from this crap? Come on. Before you turn around and point to other people about making money off this, off stuff that they're apparently faking, how much money have you made off this?
Flu-like. Well, it might be the bloody flu then. And there are so many...
Flu-like, apart from the memory loss, the extreme fatigue, the prolonged symptoms of lung damage. Do you want me to carry on?
Causes of flu-like symptoms. But suddenly, no, if they have flu-like symptoms, it's COVID-19. So the diagnosis starts to expand and expand on the basis of symptoms. Then they come up with this test. And what they did is they took genetic material from the lungs of a very, very few of the first people that became ill from lung fluid. And they did not isolate a virus. They just said that.
I agree with you. The test is crap. But you're more likely to get a false negative than you are a false positive, as far as I'm aware. But you know what? You could be right. See what else? See if there's something else to say.
The vast majority of which have no idea there is a cult or what they're working towards. They're dying of something else and say COVID-19. This is how it's being done. Now, the point you've made You know, if you're an alternative journalist, well, not even an alternative journalist, Spyro, a proper journalist, what you do is you look, as you did, at all the possibilities, and I did too. You look at the Wuhan facility. You look at the things that you've mentioned in your question, and you see if they stand up. Now, I don't need any convincing that there are bioweapons of extraordinarily horrific nature in country after country, United States, Israel, China, the bloody lot of them. And I'm not saying that they don't use them. Absolutely not. But as you assess the outcome and you look at actual events rather than theory or speculation like computer models, you see that the numbers are not there for a bioweapon. You know, could they have dropped something?
Right. Computer models work on the basis, right, of the information you put in them. So you put information in the computer model, and that's what you get out. The only way a computer model doesn't work is if you put in the wrong data.
Into Iran? Well, of course they could. But I'm looking at this generally. The numbers are not there to justify that. The hospitals, they're supposed to be war zones, according to the mainstream media, that are now controlled by security, not medical staff. They're empty all over the place, in country after country, because
they're not empty. They're absolutely chock-a-block. I've been into a hospital and they are chock-a-block. The only thing they do is control the amount of people on day patient wards. So if you come in for a scan for a condition that isn't an emergency, there will be fewer of those scans for something that isn't an emergency. So they control it. Actually, my hospital works better with these regulations than it normally does. Because normally there are too many people with too many appointments for that hospital to function regularly. So right now it is working far more effectively. Also, the COVID wards, you don't see, you can't even get anywhere near that COVID ward because my mum was in hospital and they knew exactly where the COVID ward was because it was all there and you could see patients in there through a big blast through the door, but you couldn't get into it. So carry on about these empty hospitals because they are packed. Just the day wards are empty.
This virus is not lethal, that they claim is a virus, and B, other operations and consultancies have been stopped, so of course they're bloody empty. So where are the dead people on the number that would be needed for a bioweapon? And there's something else.
There's no bioweapon. No,
you know, bioweapons are all right, but you can lose control of them. And if you start putting it out there, then you can absolutely lose control. And you can kill people you don't want to kill. You know, people say, oh, well, you know, the elite, they'll have an antidote or whatever.
There is no bioweapon. See if he's got something else interesting to say on this. Got to 40 minutes. Here we go.
That's what they're calling a quantum tattoo, a digital mark that shows, can be read by technology, if you've been vaccinated or not. And this kicks off with a virus and out comes gate.
A quantum tattoo. Oh, God. What the... WTF is a quantum tattoo. And digital passports are going to be a thing. So let's get over that right now. I to get my passport, I went online, I did everything online, and I got my passport back within a week. So it is more efficient to have digital passports, right? That's just applying for it digitally. You know, the whole thing was digital. It was on your mobile phone. You could just swipe your mobile phone and go through. And if you're a doorsy sod like me, get a microchip put in, so as to open your doors, to do everything, to do your banking, everything else. I don't actually have an issue with this. The idea that you're petrified of this technology, it just says everything that you need to know. Someone woke up, because I've got fibromyalgia, says, I can get rid of your fibromyalgia by giving you Robocop body. Fucking thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Where's the rocket launcher that matches it? I mean, you're scared of something that could be very beneficial. Being dyslexic, the thing I do most is lose my keys. If I had a microchip and I had an electric door lock and I could wave my hand at the door and open the door, that's fantastic for me. So I'm not scared of technology. You clearly are. You're a technophobe. You're a technophobic boomer. And it would be better if you just admitted it.
This is what we need to show if you've been vaccinated or not. And if you haven't been vaccinated, well, there's going to be limits on your movement. It's straight from the playlist of this cult, this whatever name you want to call it.
Yes, cult. I know one cult. It's called QAnon. Not at all driven by a lot of your crap.
But now it's on public display because they can't hide it anymore, because they're having to bring it in where we can see it. So this is, as the Chinese have a word meaning danger and opportunity, this is a time of great danger, yes, but it's also a time of great opportunity, because a lot of people have become wise to the fact that the world's not like they thought it was as a result of this. And Bill Gates, he's not going to have an easy ride anymore. He's already finding that.
You're picking on Bill Gates because he put money into the vaccine. That is the only reason you're picking on Bill Gates. The rest of the people you pick on happen to be Jewish.
There has been massive pushback that I have seen personally all over social media, and then also dealing with people, here in the real world, where people, Bill Gates may be the most hated person, and I mean, or most despised person, I should say, in the world at this point, due to this pushback, due to all of this being exposed by yourself and many other people out there who are doing this. And I want to quickly touch on.
In your world and in your echo chamber, he is. The rest of the world don't mind Bill Gates. He's a multi-billionaire, possibly tax avoiding like Elon Musk and Richard Branson and whoever owns Google now and whatever else. But he's a multi-billionaire and he's done nothing really to offend people. So if you think people hate him, that's because you're in that circle. If you get out of that circle, people don't give a toss about Bill Gates.
On a couple points here. Now, at the end of the day, as you have correctly pointed out, it doesn't look like there is any real new significant threat to human life that justifies these global lockdowns, this new, police state that we're living under right now. But many people, have gotten caught up in the debate of whether this is real or not, or if it's a hoax, or if it's a bioweapon, or if it's 5G or something like that. Now, from because at the end of the day, the end goal is still coming our way. Regardless. Now, there has been major concerns brought up about.
The end goal is to live alongside COVID, because COVID is there for all eternity. Like, the Black Death is still a thing. But you lot, in your infinite wisdom,
size business, just gigantic corporations like Amazon running everything. What has this pandemic done? Destroyed vast amounts of small business and what you call in America the middle class. So you have the Brin and the Page cover story with Google, and then you start to see that the CIA technologically seed funding company, IQT as they call it, and DARPA, the American Pentagon military seed funder of technology, etc. They appear around these companies. It's all a scam. And what's happening is these stories are being developed and these front people are being brought out. They become very rich as a result. And they are bringing this technology in to build this smart control system while claiming it's kind of random and what have you. And another point, which is very relevant to current events, these front
Say I'm a boomer scared of technology without saying I'm a boomer scared of technology.
People who become enormously rich by being front people, they there's a rider to that. You front this up and you'll become very rich, but a very large chunk of that money has to be spent through philanthropy, like the tax-exempt foundations of Gates and the Rockefellers, etc., on our agenda.
Oh, here we go. It's the Jewish lizard people again. Yeah.
And if you look at the funding record of the Bill and Melinda Gates foundations, it again ticks every box virtually of the cult agenda in what it.
There is no cult agenda other than yours and QAnon's. See if he's got something else to say other than the cult agenda
and all the labels we give ourselves. And these labels are becoming micro and micro labels as this list of LGBT blah, 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 gets longer and longer and longer. When what we are is just consciousness. We're consciousness. We are the awareness having the experience. The labels are just labels for the experience. I'm having an experience called David Icke, but it's only my experience. I am the consciousness having the experience. And once you come from a self-identity that I am awareness, infinite eternal awareness, having a brief experience.
Infinite eternal awareness. Oh my God, here we go. Right, we're going to stop it there. We've done enough lizard people for the moment. We'll go back to him later.